am slowly basically losing all of my family. And it's something that I don't really talk about a lot in general, but I was always really close to my family growing up. Now, there were kind of jerks in my family, obviously, and it wasn't a perfect childhood by any means, but it feels like every single person that I've gotten along with since I was a child, I am just slowly losing. And it really sucks. And it's not even just to like, oh, they're passing away or something like that. And that's a completely different topic. But it started when I was young. It started when I was really young, and I started noticing this a lot recently. Where when I was young, I didn't have a phone, so they basically just stopped hanging out. Stopped coming around, disappearing, or whatever. And recently, it's getting into like my cousins. My cousins don't really come around, and that is what it is. We were never really close as it was, but then it started getting into it like very very recently. Uh, I'm losing my brother, and it's something that's like very deep inside of me. I'll say that it's just kind of sad, where people, whether they drift apart or they just don't want anything to do with you, or they just don't care enough to try to mend relationships or anything of that sort. And like currently, right now, with my brother, for example, my brother is 4 years older than me. Keep in mind, I'm 23. My brother's 27. So, like we are adults at this point, but he's like an adult. Like that's what I would consider. Once you get about 30 years old, that's when you're like your frontal lobe is fully developed. You're a full grown adult. Until you hit about 25, I don't even really start to consider you like a full functioning adult until you're about 25, because that's apparently when most brains fully developed, right? And it's different for everybody, but it's just something that's been like really really crazy recently is how much uh people have just been going away. And I was thinking about this last night where I was like, man, what could I do? What could I do to keep these people around? What could I do to make it better? What could I do to mend these relationships, right? And I genuinely don't think there's anything to do. Me and my brother, it's not that we are at each other's throats or we hate each other. At least I hope he doesn't hate me. I don't hate him, but he just basically thinks the world is out to get him. Essentially, it is the best way I can put it. I'm not gonna sit here and dog on him because I don't know what's going on in his head or anything. But from what he's told me, he basically thinks the world is out to destroy his life over simple things, like him having to pay bills or somebody being like, "Yo, you gotta pay for your car," or something like that. And I've talked to my dad about this a little bit, where I think there is like maybe a level of how he raised us a little bit, because when we were growing up, we didn't really have a lot of money, but my brother growing up, once he hit about 15, he didn't have to worry about anything at all. My dad paid for everything. If he asked for something, my dad tried to get it for him. Even though we couldn't afford stuff, he always tried to get stuff for him. And my brother got a job, and he was able to just blow the money as much as he wanted to. And I remember this so much, like when he was 15 and I was like 11. And once I hit about 12 to 13 years old, we hit some like really bad financial problems, because at this point, like, we had basically nobody. It was like me, my dad, and my brother. But my brother had a full time job, but he wasn't like helping with anything. I'm not saying it's the kid's responsibility to help, but I think it's a difference in how you mend things, right? Because I feel like I've always tried to be very observant and everything, and like I've noticed things like I've seen my dad skip meals to make sure I ate, I've seen him try to take out loans to pay bills when things were really down, because like growing up, my mom and dad they were split, and I mean my mom basically just completely screwed over my dad, like 100%, like left him with a bunch of debt, left him with two kids to raise solo, which anybody who's been with a single parent knows, like, man, it's already a struggle as it is, like scraping by. uh and so by the time I was like 12, 13, that was probably the worst years of my life. And that's just because like there was days we were skipping meals, there was days where we were uh like not able to pay some bills, you know it wasn't all roses at the end of the day, no matter how much my dad tried. I really respect that, but like he just couldn't do it all, you know but my brother um never helped, like, ever, which was weird to me because years and years passed, and once I was old enough to get a job, the first thing I did, I remember this so well. Like, me and my dad, a slightly better financial situation because we moved to like a cheaper house or something like that, and I remember it so well. I got a job, and in my state's minimum wage, by the way, is 7.25. There's no standard here. So like the job I got when I turned 15, I was making 7.25. I was going to school full time, doing that, and then also still trying to have a social life at the same time. And like on 7.25, I want to put this into perspective. You work for every 16 hours you work. Well, we'll say 40 hours you work, right? Every 40 hours you work, you you make $280 post, but like before tax. And then after tax, it's like you make 240, 230, something like that. And since I was in school, I was only working a couple like days a week. Uh, Important context here, but like I was making maybe 100, maybe $200 a paycheck maximum, and I remember I would give everything to my dad. I would save like maybe $20 to like spend on a vending machine, or like go to the movies or something, if I really wanted to. Um, but I remember it so well of just giving my dad money, and he never asked for it. He never did. My dad is a very proud person. He would never actually come out and tell me that he needs money, frankly. But I just gave it to him. You know, I would literally go in, I'd take $100 out, I'd give him $100 cash, because I knew $100 cash, like at that time, was so much money, especially a couple of years ago. Like $100 cash, I mean, you're able to buy like a couple weeks worth of groceries, especially for two people. But this entire time, my brother was still bumming. You know, I was 15, he's 19 at this point, he's still bumming. And this has continued into our later years, where it's like, yeah, I'm still here. I live at home, right? But my living at home is like I pay bills, I have payments to do, I have an entire life that doesn't revolve around it. Basically, I'm just here to like save money. And if I had the money to move out, I would. But the place I live in right now is a little expensive, like the area, so that's taking some time. But like my brother refuses to do this, and it it really does come down to, like I said, my dad. I have a lot of respect. I love my dad, but it really does come down to the fact that he basically babied my brother, and that's why I'm currently losing him, because we're getting to that stage where like not only am I fed up with it, I try to help, try to give advice, try to set an example, which I don't think a younger sibling should have to do. Be the ones to set an example. But that's what I'm trying to do. It's just something. I even like. practically like begged my dad to get him a computer, basically, because I mean I saw what he was doing. He was essentially depressed. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't working. He wasn't playing games. He wasn't on his phone. So I was like, he needs something. He needs an outlet, and maybe that will help him in life. And it did. It did for a little while. But then he like got rid of the computer, you know. And when I figured that out, like man, I was so angry. Like you guys don't really see me get angry on this channel. I'm usually pretty relaxed, but like it was at that point where I'm like, are are we serious? Like I I practically begged for this, like, and I even helped. Like I helped find everything. I helped price everything. I helped make sure like it did everything. I did like tons and tons of research, and it just wiped it out. And it might seem like, oh, like I do think my brother needs some like help. He probably does have like some like a little bit of mental issues. I think a lot of people do these days, like ADHD and stuff like that. Like 100%. Uh, and I've tried to. I really have, but like I don't know. I'm just at the end of my rope. And because of this, I started thinking back on my life a little bit. Started thinking back on, well, where's my family? How did I lose my family? And then I started putting these pieces together where I genuinely think my brother hates me. And that is different from what I said earlier. But that's because I needed you guys to hear the story a little bit first. Where when I started putting these pieces together, I realized, man, my family stopped talking to me when my brother stopped responding to their text because I didn't have a cell phone. So he was like the median essentially, And I don't talk to anybody. Like when you're a kid and you don't have a phone, you're just like, okay, well, the only people you talk to is your friends at school, or like if you go outside and play, essentially, or Xbox or something like that. But like, and I realized that, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, like that was a big realization, and it actually irked me even more. And then I was thinking back to my grandfather, who was like a big part of my life. Like, I mean, he was always the one that told me to like follow my dreams and to like he was there for like everything essentially. Like he would watch me all the time. We would go do stuff all the time. um we would hang out all the time. And he unfortunately he passed away when I was 13 years old. And uh and you know I knew he passed away, but I was never told about the funeral. I was never allowed to go to the funeral. Not because, someone said no, but thinking back on it, it's because my brother just ignored it. And, I try not to get emotional too much on this channel. It happens a couple times, but this is just something I wanted to kind of get off my chest, talk about out loud, even if nobody watches the video or whatever. But yet, it, it's just crazy to me, been putting these pieces together. It's like a puzzle has been going off in my head recently, which is a big reason I haven't been uploading, is because this puzzle has been just like shoving into my brain about life and about who I want to be. I mean, if I have kids in the future, how I want to raise them, and just think like things of why I've been almost stuck, almost, because I'll say my a big reason I'm here, uh, like here at home, I guess is what you could say, is when I turned 18, like I was gonna move out. I had like all these plans and everything to go do my own thing. And I remember like I just couldn't do it. Like the rent prices kind of went up, and there's physically no way I was gonna be able to move out. So my dad supported me, and he was like, go chase your dreams for a little bit. Do school, do YouTube, just do you for a little bit, and I'll finance it. And luckily at that time, that's also at the exact same time frame, like basically almost, I think maybe 6 months after I turned 18, was the same time period that like we finally got out of the financial situation that we were in. Like that's what I mean. From the time I was 11 to 12 years old to the time I was 18, it was rough, like really really bad. And uh, I guess I can say so. So basically, like we didn't have the money to like go to court for something my mom got sued over, and because she got sued because she like crashed a car, and her name was technically still our name essentially, like she still had her last name. They sued her for it. Obviously she didn't have the money, and because of that they went after my dad, and my dad didn't have the stuff to fight them in court, so then they won. It was really really stupid. And yeah, so like that's what I've been doing. I mean, now I'm working on saving up some money, getting some new stuff and everything, and I think that's where I kind of am in my life right now. Where I'm finally at a point where that stuff in the past I kind of just talked about just doesn't matter anymore. I can finally buy myself new clothes. Not saying I'm rich. I'm not by any means. I don't make a lot of money in the slice. My dad does, luckily. But um, but like I buy all my own stuff. I buy my own clothes, buy my own bed, like everything you guys see in the background here is stuff that I am proud of because like I bought it with my own hands. I went, I worked with my hands, and I bought it, and I did my own thing and saved up and like all that stuff. Outside of this stuff, which I know you guys have commented on it a few times, but all this is like this is stuff like memories of me, my dad, and my grandpa, basically. Like that's what all of this is. So like this stuff will, even if I don't have a shelf of it, I'll always keep it. Because that's what it is. We have books that my dad bought me, which these are like brand new books. We got the Winston figure from when Overwatch 1 from the pre-order, if you got it from GameStop. Like I'm not gonna throw everything on the shelf. I might do that someday. But that's all memories. So I'm keeping that. But yeah, that's really all I want to talk about today. Was just kind of something I've been struggling with a little bit recently, but also where I'm kind of at in life to be like, I almost have no emotions towards it. Outside of like, obviously, dude, I don't care. If you are really close to someone and you talk about them after they pass or something like that, you're probably gonna tear up, and that's gonna be it every single time. When I talk about my grandpa, when I think about maybe losing my dad someday, man, it gets me like like really bad. It really does. It gets me really bad. But when it comes to when I think about like my brother's situation and stuff like that, and this is after weeks of deliberating this, by the way, is like I've just finally come to the point where I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. And if you want to hate me because, you know, I don't know. Like that might sound weird, but it's like I can't even fathom a thought of why he would hate me so much. You know? Like maybe jealousy, but like that doesn't make sense because like I got nothing growing up. Like I played two games growing up, guys. I played Elder Scrolls Online and Rainbow Six Siege. And Elder Scrolls Online, I got that for my birthday from my friends, And Rainbow Six Siege I picked up from like a like a game shop, you know, like those ones that sell resell used games. I got that for like $5. So like, and I played those every single day from the time I think I was like 13 to 20, or like 19, I'd say. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. That's all I really want to talk about today, and also it just kind of lets you guys know where I've been if anybody was curious. But hope everybody is doing well. Have a wonderful night. Peace.